Hello, Baiba. I'm so excited to talk with you today. And I just want to thank you for coming on here and having a conversation with me.
Hi, Katrina. Yes, I am thrilled to be talking to you.
Yes,
You're doing
it's
an
so
amazing
nice.
job.
Oh, thank you. It's so nice to. I was actually on your podcast before, so it's nice to talk to you again, this time kind of switching roles.
I know it's so weird, like to be in the spotlight. I'm usually so used to interviewing other people.
Yes. Well, I'm so excited to hear about your journey and your story because I know you've been able to really kind of shift your mindset and use different tools. So I would love to hear about your journey and about your transformation.
Yeah. Thank you for that. So it's probably, like you said, it is a journey, and there have been many stages and steps and events of transformation. It's funny because over the last couple of days, something has come to me, just looking back, reflecting, I think, because we were recording it in the beginning of 2022. And, as you end the year and start the new year, I've been really reflecting about what it is that I want from the new year. What are my intentions? What is my vision? And, one of the biggest past transformations, and, it's funny because some of them can be conscious, where we're actually aware of, what we are desiring and calling into our life and set a powerful intention for it. But it probably was more, there are some times where it's more natural and you're not as aware of it. And it happened actually for me when I was 18 years old. Actually, it started when I was in high school. So my name is Baiba Wisse, and I'm originally, you will be able to tell that I have an accent. I am from a small country called Latvia. And and it's in Eastern Europe. And right now it's part of European Union. But when I was born, it was part of Soviet Union. So the transformation, it was just kind of, I reflected back on it, and it was really blowing my mind. Like if I really think about it, from my grandmothers, this journey of coming from Soviet Union, and if they heard, that, or it would have been so much outside of their imagination of what's possible, that their granddaughter will be living and making a life in United States. I mean, not only across the ocean, but in a completely different political, social system, right? Or system of way life working. So what happened to me is I just realized that at 16, I had this teacher in high school, and she was an exchange teacher teaching English as a second language. She came to Latvia, shortly. It's not too long after, about 10 years, around 10 years into it becoming free from Soviet Union. And I just had this thought about some kind of desire that God planted in me about coming to America. I had never been to America, so I had really no concept besides knowing this one person, right? And really liking her and having some sort of connection, and just planting the seed of desire that I want to go there. And then 2 years later, I ended up, again, these crumbs, these events came together where I actually got an exchange program where I was able to come here and work in a food line in a deli for a summer work program. Well, I'm in the university back in Latvia. And it was also so unlikely because my mom didn't really have a lot of money. And, there was like a lot of different circumstances going on in the family. And then, I was able to come back the next year. And then I was able to connect with somebody from a school that gave me a scholarship. And I wasn't an athlete. I was smart, but I wasn't also somebody who will, I wasn't like the smartest person in the world, right? Or didn't have any scientific, any kind of accomplishments sometimes that you need to really come to study to United States and get a scholarship. And it's just like, I was just looking back. I mean, it's probably one of the biggest transformations or kind of magic or whatever you want to call that has happened, how life aligned just from launching that one thought, that one desire. And here I am 20 years later, you know, I have made a good life across the ocean.
Gosh. That is so amazing. I love that. I think I can relate to that aspect of like, we're, 20 years later and we're getting more familiar with this idea that we can be intentional with creating our life and our reality. But we can also look back to before, like we even knew that it was what we were doing, like that we're all manifestors, we're all creating our life from our intentions, from our thoughts, whether we're like super aware of it or not, we are. And so I feel like I can totally relate to that concept of like looking back and reflecting and seeing incidents when I was younger and things, like you get that thought, that intention, and you have no idea like how it's going to happen or that it's even possible and that it just comes into life. And it's so amazing. And just like, yeah, there's so much like just imagining, where you came from and your grandma and your family situation, and just like how unlikely it was that you would end up in America. And that all started from just a thought. That's incredible.
Yes. No, thank you. It is indeed.
So how have you been using this concept of like, creating things with our thoughts, with our intentions, like as you continue, because transformation is a journey, right? And it's like different parts of our life, we start to learn more and become more aware of this ability that we all have to create from our thoughts. And so how has this concept for you continued to like play out in your life?
Yeah, I would say that as far as starting that transformation and growth journey more consciously, that was probably around when I was 27, around 26, 27 years old, And, sometimes I wonder if it's better to just launch that desire and sometimes there's power to not overthinking it, not knowing too much, right? Yes. And not striving for it too hard, because that also puts in a different dynamic in motion. But as far as like starting to learn different modalities and different tools, probably around 27. And when I realized I wasn't feeling very happy, like just going kind of through motions during the day, I just realized that I want to feel different. And I'm not really happy with myself, by myself. And it started with Wayne Dyer.
Oh, I'm reading his book right now. Wow, what a gift to have read that at 27 years old.
Yeah, I mean, I think I started listening to some kind of talks, DVDs, CDs, and then also Tony Robbins, then those are, some of the, and it's kind of like, and then you hear about somebody else and you hear about somebody else, and then you kind of all, and that's where I think I started to become more of a self-help and growth junkie.
I love that. You said something before we dive into this whole like self-growth, self-help junkie. You said something that I wanted to comment on, because as you were sharing your story of, the 16-year-old version of yourself who like had this thought, I want to go to America. And then, it all happened. And it was like, and you said something about how sometimes it's like, what's easier when we're like not overthinking it and we just get the thought. And I had that same kind of thought pop up in my mind when I was hearing it, because it's like, when you're that age, when you're young, it's like you don't necessarily have these like experiences in life where you have those disappointments of like going after something and then it doesn't happen, for
Mm-hmm.
whatever reason. And it's like, you have that like freshness
Mm-hmm.
about you when you're that age and not overthinking it. And I
Mm-hmm.
think what's beautiful about this work is that we can really get to a place where we're like that again, where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I have this intention, I have this desire. And instead of overthinking it and trying to like make it happen a certain way, it's like if
Mm-hmm.
we could return to that, like, that kind of teenage, just like
Openness
optimism, openness. Yes.
and
Like just saying
believing.
yes to things. And
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. So it just kind of reminded me of that. And I love how you kind of just pin that right on the head, like not overthinking it.
Yeah.
Because I think we can get into that mode, especially, as professionals, as, working women. It's like,
Making it happen.
yes, absolutely. But okay, so I want to hear more about this. I love it. So you started to hear from Wayne Dyer and Tony Robbins, and that kind of started you on this path. And
Mhm.
where did that, where did that kind of take you, that journey of
Yeah.
self-growth? And I also love too how you said it was like, you weren't feeling happy, you weren't just feeling
Mhm.
good anymore, and that
Mhm.
that is what like catapulted you to then want to change. Because I think sometimes we kind of get stuck with this idea that like if I'm not happy, or if I'm um not really, enjoying my life, that like there's nothing we can do about it. It's just kind of like,
Mhm.
oh, like this is
Mhm.
just the way life is. You just kind of like surrender and accept. And I
Mhm.
love how you said no, like, I'm not feeling happy and I want to change something. Like I don't want to just continue
Mhm.
living this
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, I think the second very strong factor, at least in my experience, that's been a core driver. And I don't know, for me, it's been a key ingredient, right? And all, even in that first transformation that I mentioned, was that I didn't really have another option. There was this strong desire. There's like this relentlessness that was planted in me, this passion for life. And also that the circumstances, like when I was back home, part of it was coming from this strong desire to wanting a better life, to live a different life than my parents were living, that I came from, and this desire to just get out of being dependent on my dad, being in kind of a smaller country where a lot of the opportunities were limited to who and just this strong drive, like it's like there's no other option, otherwise I do not want that, that's familiar
Yes.
or that's
Yeah.
happening right now. So that definitely has been a strong motivator or driver.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's kind of where a lot of people, it looks different for them. I think your situation is so unique because
Mhm.
your no other option like looks different than most people who are,
Mhm.
let's say, born in America and have,
Mhm.
maybe different opportunities than
Mhm.
you did growing up. But yeah, I just think that sense of like, okay, if there's no other option for me, so that's like what kind of pushed you
Propelled me.
through and
Mhm.
propelled you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And another thing is a vision. Like when you talk about that childlike, that openness. So I didn't have an
Mhm.
easy childhood. So the openness actually was not vulnerability. That wasn't something that would be safe in my household where I grew up. But somehow in this respect, I always had like the belief in a better option, like this knowing, like that in your heart, when I connect with it, like it's knowing in my whole being that I can resonate with, that something different is possible for me. And I can have that if I just like tune right. So all these years, like you said, starting with Wayne Dyer and Tony Robbins, it's kind of has been, and I've taken many courses, classes, worked with different people. I've been very open-minded, just because, like you said, when I realized at 27 that I wasn't happy, it was kind of like mentally in my being. I just like, it wasn't just like, oh, I'm just bored. It's just like I felt like, no, I want different. And all of these kind of teachers and all the steps, I think every transformation, because there have been really many, I think we're here to grow. When people
Yes.
ask for your purpose, it's really growth. Some call it raising your vibration, right? And it's not always comfortable. Honestly, many of the times have been propelled when the relationship falls apart, when the work is not working, when you're not getting paid enough, when you're not being recognized by your boss, when you get a narcissistic, awful boss, right? Or, all of these different kind of like when life, it's funny or not funny, but many times we change when life really brings us to our knees.
Yes, to a point where we don't have an option, right? Like you said before,
Yeah.
like you're in that situation, it's like you didn't have an option. There was no
Mhm.
other option. And I think
Yeah.
that's so true that oftentimes what propels change in us is when we
Mhm.
get to that situation, whatever it is, that the job that we're unhappy with, or the
Mhm.
ending of a relationship, something that is uncomfortable and challenging, but that's
Yeah.
what propels us to then, okay, let's make a change. Like it's time to make a change because we don't have another option.
Yeah, and it's okay. And yeah, like you said, the option might be like you see what the option is, right? You see what is, right? But when it's kind of like when you know that you don't want what you have, or you don't want what is, or you don't want to feel like you feel. And then coupled with a vision and that belief in your heart, in your whole being, right? Connecting with that kind of that pulling that North Star about what can be, and believing in it with your whole heart.
Yes, that's so beautiful. That's such a beautiful description of what it means really to manifest things in our life, is having this vision. And when you talked about having this like childlike openness and belief, one of the things that I do personally for manifesting is doing a lot of visualization and using
Okay.
my imagination. And so there is that part of us that's like, it is a childlike skill in a way to have this imagination and really just like imagine, what would it be like to have the career that I desire, or the
Mhm.
life that I desire, or whatever it is, the relationship I desire, and really using our imagination to see different things and then to pull from that vision a feeling, right? What would that
Yeah.
feel like? Because then that's what's going to raise our vibration and make us a match for what it is that we desire. And that's when it comes into our path, into our life. And I love
Yeah.
how you describe that so beautifully.
Yeah. No. And I love that you are doing the membership, right? The community for women, because honestly, it can be a lonely journey,
Yes.
like, okay, when you're doing it on your own, right? You're writing and you're taking the time to meditate and visualize. And like so many people, I know that along the way, it's not a mainstream. I think it's become more mainstream, but it's still, I would say, not many of my immediate friends are doing it, or like family members,
Yeah.
I felt more like an outlier, and like literally going in the bathroom, shutting the door, right? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Right? You have to devote the time, and
Absolutely.
you can feel
Yeah.
like a crazy person.
Yeah, it's so true. Even though, we may know a lot of people that are, doing these things like meditating and being really intentional
Mhm.
about visualizing and manifesting, as much as it is coming more into the mainstream. I mean, the science is out there, like meditation, it is so good for us. It lowers our stress levels. It brings our body into balance. And there's so many like benefits. It's science now.
Mhm.
But it's still like, oh, I don't know. It's like still kind of, yeah. And for me, there's tons of friends and family that are like, what is meditation? Like, I have clients that I work with one-on-one, and some of them have never meditated before. Like I just worked with a client and it was her first meditation and she loved it. She was like, I felt so relaxed. I felt so
Mhm.
peaceful. I felt so calm. She felt all of the feelings that she is desiring in her life in one meditation, and it's
Mhm.
so beautiful. It's so powerful. And frankly, with the membership, I think you're so right that we do need a community to come together
Mhm.
and to share our experiences with and to grow together.
Mhm.
And that's why I started the membership, is because for me personally, I I loved being in like group um situations where I could share with other people, because it's like it is a journey and you do need that community. So it's so beautiful to have options like that where we can come together and support each other and grow
Yeah,
that way.
yeah.
Um,
And
but I
Katrina
would
is a wonderful teacher. You're a great teacher. I think that's one of
thank
your
you.
natural strengths.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I am like so like I'm just loving this interview and hearing all of your insights. Like you have been such I just love hearing all of your insights and your journey. So I would like to dive in a little bit more and just hear more about your journey and some of the things that you were able to do or use with this
Mhm.
self-growth journey that you went on. Like if
Yeah,
maybe if there's like a specific situation you can talk about.
yeah,
I would love to hear more how you were able to use like, the different things that you learned from like the Wayne Dyers and the Tony Robbins of the world,
yeah,
and how you were
yeah.
able to actually apply it to your life and experience a transformation.
Yeah, I think one of the things that come to my mind is when it comes to transformation is probably that happened 10 years ago, and kind of along the lines when I was feeling kind of unhappy, when I was feeling more kind of alone, even when working for companies, when I was feeling like there wasn't a lot of support, like I had to do everything on my own, then there was a powerful idea, that made me, I knew that I wanted different. Again, this desire, right? It's kind of like I knew probably the beliefs and how I operated up until now are not going to get me to the next steps, that I really truly desire. And it's funny how kind of reading these books, listening to these teachers, listening to people, your friends, like you said, network like what you've created. The thing is that we have to remain very open. I feel like, I guess some people do get downloads with their intuition, are really connected to their guidance. That has not been my experience. I think it's one of kind of been the hardest things for me, is like really to hear or connect to such a guidance or intuition. So for me, what's been miraculous is how you get your answers and what you need from different people, from different situations, interactions, if you just remain open to the world. So that's probably another underlying success factor. But the specific situation, what happened when I knew I wanted also a different experience with people, with coworkers, with bosses, was that I had to change my mind about this universe. I think it's Albert Einstein who said you have to decide if you are going to live in a hostile or a benevolent universe,
Mm,
right?
I
Will
love
you
that.
believe the world is for you or against you? And you can pick
Mm,
either one and you will be right,
mm,
right? You can pick either
yes.
one and your experiences will prove you right. And up until now,
Beautiful. Yeah.
I didn't realize, like, why are people not, like, it's kind of like there was some friction. Many times I felt it's like me against, somebody else or my boss or the world. Like things were not like clicking smoothly, right? It was too hard. And then I literally had to start telling myself, and I think if I backtrack, it comes from this survival, also Eastern European. And I'm not saying that everybody has it, but I think it's kind of this mentality from what I saw in my environment, what I saw around me was kind of like, if you don't get it, somebody else will, right? That there's not enough to go around. It means like if there's plus for somebody, it's a minus for somebody else. It's kind of limited money, limited resources, limited opportunities, right? Versus
Mm,
I literally realized I have like, that doesn't feel good. This is not serving me, And
yes.
I started telling myself how my boss is for me, how they are really conspiring for opportunities for me, right? I literally had to start rewriting my own beliefs and my own narrative. And it's been miraculous. And it's repeated itself in a number of circumstances, because it's funny, we go forward, but then we take a step back or two steps back, or
Sure.
it
Yes.
works and then we revert, so it's been like an iteration. So that's why I say I've been proven several times when I go back and strongly ground myself in that truth, right? Then also the opportunities come. All of a sudden, your boss is advocating for your promotion. All of a sudden, your boss is advocating for you having a team, all of the sudden, same people. And I think that's where I remember when we were talking a few months ago, when you were saying the same thing, that literally you change your external circumstances with the same players
Yes.
inside out.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's so powerful. So what
Yeah.
did that look like for you? Like, as far as, you said you started to tell yourself, like, my boss is for me. Like, my
Yeah.
boss is,
Supports me. He thinks highly of
yeah.
me.
So like,
Yeah.
what did that look like? Like, when would you do that? And like, how would you do it? Would you just like say these things to yourself, or like, what did that practice kind of look like? It, because it sounds like, it was a really powerful tool for you to use,
Mhm.
like these affirmations,
Mhm.
to help you see like your boss actually starting to support you and
Mhm.
to grow a team and all of these different amazing things.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
curious like what that looked like for you.
It was talking to myself and catching myself, when I do feel frustrated, or where that thinking, like whenever I could catch myself that thinking kicks in. Oh, because you can start blaming the other person. Oh, it's them, right? They're just not appreciating me, right? They're not this or that. They're not seeing everything that they do, or they don't want to listen to me, or there can be different things. So like as soon as I could, like shifting that, right, catching it and starting
Beautiful.
literally rewriting. And it wasn't a one day thing, because I've gone back and forth, and again, like happened to me in several iterations, where I can go and be in this kind of constrictive like pushing kind of, and
Yes.
then but it's tiring, right? And it's like then you realize, oh, something's not really going that well for me, so it's probably not going to work if I keep doing the same thing. So it's like, sometimes situations have to get tough, like you have to get some difficult clients or something, right? And you realize, well, this is going to drain me more and more, right? Or, and that's where literally it's from talking to yourself to writing it out to having a vision. So, to hypnotize, over the years, I've used many different tools, including energy work.
Yes, that is so powerful. It's like, it sounds like, what you were doing was just first becoming aware of the thoughts as they came
Mm-hmm.
up, which is such a powerful, like, whenever I work with clients, that's always like the first thing I talk them through is like, just start to become aware of like what triggers you, what thoughts come up for you when you get triggered, and like make a notation, write it down, because awareness really is the first step to change. And
Yeah.
then it's, and then you would like catch the thought and rewrite the story. Like, what is the story that you want to tell yourself? Is the story that you want to tell yourself that my boss is out to get
Mhm.
me and that everything's a struggle and that this is going to be hard and frustrating? Or do you want to write the story that like I can work
You're
together
my
with my
biggest
boss?
fan.
He's for me. Like, yeah, things are going to work out. Like,
Yeah.
and it's the story that we choose to tell ourselves once we get the thoughts, because
Yeah.
the thoughts aren't really us, they're just, we're observing the thoughts. So when we can
Yeah.
observe them and rewrite them to support us, right, so that we do feel
Yeah.
good, so that we do are able to succeed and not
Yeah.
get held back. It's very powerful. And also, you know I love how you said like it was a journey. Like, it's not like every thought you're just like, I gotcha, like, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
rewire. It's like sometimes no, you sit in those thoughts and you're like, my boss sucks, or this is really frustrating, and whatever the situation is. And allowing ourselves some space to like go through that and feel that way and just like experience all the emotions of being a human and just like not getting down on ourselves and being like, oh, here we go again, like,
Mhm.
allowing ourselves to feel. And then when we're ready, when you're like, okay, this isn't going to work for me anymore, like I don't want to feel this way anymore, it's like, okay, get back on that path of becoming aware and catching the thoughts and shifting them and rewriting them. It's such a beautiful description of really just the power that we have to change our mindset, and also the grace that we need sometimes
Mhm.
when we fall behind. And it's okay, it's like, don't give up.
I love when you say the grace, because it's the synchronicity. I was going to say with like gentleness and grace, like it's not, it hasn't happened for me overnight, right? And it also depends on the background you come from, because for me, it's also been releasing trauma, right? And I'm still on the journey. I'm not perfect. I have my goals, I have my, quote unquote struggles and things that I want to transform still. And it's probably kind of the life's journey, but being gentle with yourself and easy, and sometimes not trying, because like as type A successful women, we want to, oh, I want to change now, tomorrow,
Mhm, mhm,
everything.
mhm.
Sweetheart, out of the door, new job, everything. Turn your life upside down. And it's like this beautiful, magical, that might not always feel like a magical journey. And then, but be easy, and like learning to be easy and gentle with yourself is also a journey.
Yes, it
Yeah.
really is, especially if you do have a past with, which most of us do, and with some form of trauma where you don't feel safe necessarily to
Mhm.
express all of your emotions, or certain emotions are not allowed. I mean, it's really, in my world of growing up, like being able to express every emotion is like very new. Like it's new to me. It's new. It's something that I'm implementing with my children and how I raise them. And it's hard. Like there are times where, I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, and like they're really upset and maybe they're like screaming or they're crying. And it's hard to sit there and just be like, you know, it's okay to be upset. Like, it's okay. Cause like some part of me is like, oh, but we're not supposed to scream or we're not supposed to feel that strongly. And it's like, it's okay. And then it's amazing because when you just give them that space by saying it's okay, it's like they instantly like calm down and they're like, oh, okay. Like, I'm okay. And like they get that anger to like move through. Cause what emotions are energy in motion, right? So if they're feeling a certain emotion, it's like just let them feel it, let it move through them, let it pass through them. And
Mhm.
by the end of like the experience, sometimes we'll just be like, let's just say it, I'm really mad, and like we'll say it like I'm really mad, and we'll kind of like just
Mhm.
yell it out, and then we'll start laughing, and it's like that anger just turned into
Yeah.
laughter, and it's
Yeah.
so it's so powerful when we practice that exercise of just like allowing ourselves to feel the emotion, even if it's like we don't want to feel it, like we don't want to
Yeah.
feel the anger or the sadness or whatever it is. It's like just allowing ourselves to feel it, and then like allowing it to pass through it. Like it doesn't have to sit with us
Mhm.
forever. Like we don't have to sit with it for weeks or days. Like, and I think the more that you practice this work, the the easier it kind of is to move through the emotions.
Yeah.
Whereas, like when I first started this journey, it would take like sometimes I would be sad or upset for weeks. Something
Yeah.
happens and it's just like lingering there, or even longer, even months, and then it went to like weeks and then days, and now it's like, hours or half a day. And
Mhm.
there are times, where it's more than that. Um,
Mhm.
but it's just, learning that like it's okay to feel, and it's okay to make a decision like, okay, I'm gonna move through this now. Like I'm gonna let this pass through my body and
Yeah.
make a different choice.
Yeah. And I would say with feelings and thoughts, right? When you were talking about is this balance, at least in my experience, when I try to too much to control my thoughts and monitor them, it became hard or difficult for me. So right now I'm more on the journey. When you talk about the feelings, right? It's like really coming back, and even the vision. For me, I'm a huge proponent of having a vision, something to pull you towards something, and you have to make it fun. And then no matter what your goals are, it's probably at the end of the day, you want to feel good. Underlying that, whether it's a lot of money, a great partner, a great career, business, it's really not the thing, but it's like, how is it going to make me feel, right? And you can start feeling like that today.
Yes, I
So
love that. Absolutely.
it's much more like when it's much more designing your day, and you don't have to have every moment like that. You're human, right? But starting even with 1 minute more, 5 minutes more, every hour, like checking in with yourself, or whenever you remember, it's like, okay, so for me, I really, at my core, I want to feel in love with life.
Mm,
And can I
beautiful.
generate, right? Can I generate? Because I've realized also over the years, my boss is not going to give me give me the magic show that all of a sudden will make me feel like $1,000,000, right? Or my partner, or my child, or a beautiful house. Somehow you're still bringing everywhere yourself, and everybody's busy with their own worries, with their own problems, with their own aspirations and dreams. That you have to bring the magic and spark that feeling inside out. And for me, it's much easier to quote unquote, I guess, monitor, or kind of when you observe the thoughts. For me, it's easier to observe, how do I feel and how do I want to feel, and can I pivot in this moment? And when you're talking about the emotions, it's not going to work when you're already, there's huge momentum towards sadness, or, where it's gone down already pretty deep, in one of those quote unquote undesired feelings. But if you catch it sooner, it's easier to like, well, this person did something I really don't like, right? Or I had a really tough meeting and this person was a jerk. But like, the sooner I can catch, but life is like, how do I actually want to feel, right? I want to
Yes.
feel in love with life, right? I want to have fun. I want to have adventure. And I'm not going to let this, run me. And kind of this is, I think, actually taking the power back.
Absolutely. Yes, I love that. I I love how you said, like bringing the magic, like we're not going to find the magic out there, right?
Yeah.
It's all inside. It's all from here.
Mm.
And all of those things, like the house, the career, the success, that's like the icing on the cake. But
Yeah.
we are the ones that make the cake, and we
Yes.
can access it now. It's so beautiful. I love that. It's so inspiring to hear that.
Yes.
And
Let's make a good cake with sprinkles, colors, and lots of yummy frosting.
Absolutely. So, before we kind of wrap up, is there anything that you want to share with the listener, just like a final kind of takeaway? You had so many like amazing little nuggets of just positivity and optimism. Like, I've got little notes here from some of the things you said. Thank you so much. So inspiring. But is there anything like kind of a last you know, thought before we kind of wrap up?
Yeah. I think that would be to always remember what a miracle you are. You are
Mm,
the star, and you have the light. And I feel like all of these, like the conditioning, our experiences, beliefs, of others, and they kind of like have formed a cloud. Sometimes they can form a cloud, and then that's where you feel disconnected, where you don't feel your power, your knowing, your confidence, right? And just this full vibrancy and enthusiasm and aliveness. But know that it's inside of you, and know that, whatever you believe, God, the universe, uh, the same power that created this universe and planets is beating your heart. And yes, that you are enough and you are a star, and you just need to remove the cloud. On the days where you're
Yes.
not feeling in your power, you just need, it's there. You just need to connect with it.
Oh my gosh, you are so special, Baiba. That was so beautiful. I absolutely adore that whole little wrap up. Like you just tied everything with a beautiful little bow. And it was so nice to chat with you. And where can our listeners find you so that they want to hear more or learn more?
Yeah, two places. One is I have a podcast called Create Your Best Career, and it's available on Apple Podcast and also Spotify. So search for it, take a listen, subscribe to that. And where I also interview other women. I have interviewed you, Katrina, and others, because this is really my passion about more women becoming self-actualized, empowered, and really having more fun designing careers, jobs, where you can start looking forward to Mondays and also make more money and have more fun while at it, right? And then I'm also on Instagram at the same name, create your best career. So come check.
Beautiful. Yes, I love it. I love you so much. You're just like such a light. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. And we'll definitely link all of that in the show notes for today's episode. Thank you so much. And we'll talk to you soon. Okay. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Katrina. Keep
You're
shining.
welcome. Thank you.